Hello and welcome. My name is Amir, and in this video we're going to create this beautiful progress bar. So you can see we can simulate loading and it will go from 0 to 100%. We can reset and we can update the size using shrink. Now if you go to the internet and search for progress bars, circular ones, you would get lots of them using SVG. But in this video we're going to use only CSS and its properties to do so. So in order to do that, I would just grab these HTMLs that I have here and set them here. Then I'm going to start with styling. So first is that I would get the progress that I defined here, have some width for it, let's say 100 pixels, the aspect ratio of 1, then the border radius of 50 pixels. Let's give it some background so that we see it's working. And gives these buttons some margin. Now, for the part that is going here, I would use a pseudo element. So I would say progress after, like so. Let's make it a bit smaller, like 80 pixels. You know what? I would define a variable here because it will help me later on with shrinking this button. I would say this is by default 100 pixels. The width is this value, and I can use the value that is there, like so. Let's give it some background as well so we can see it. Background for this one will be white. I need the aspect ratio as well to be again 1. Let's give it some content so that I know it's there. For now, just like 2, and it's there. Okay, and I need the border radius as well, so border radius of 50%, and I need to set it in the center. So first I would go here and say display of this is grid, and place the contents in the center so that everything comes to the center, and I would do the same for this one. You can use flex or any other set, but I like the grid system better. Now I can use the font size here as well and get use of this size that I have. So I would grab something like this and put it here, and let's say 0.5. It's too big. 0.4. It's okay. Let's say the value is 100 now. Perfect. So this content is coming from here, so I can use the attr of data-value, and it's working. So if I go here and say like 30, it's still working. Okay, so I have the basics here. The only thing is that I need to fill it. In order to do so, first I would remove this one so that I can focus on the progress part. And the trick is using a background gradient. So I would go here and say this is conic gradient, and I can provide any values that I want. So I would say, for example, red is 10% of the circle, and then the green is like going from 10% to let's say 70%, and then blue is from 70% up to 100%. But the trick is, if I say that this green is like this, the green will go the background and red will be on top of that. So I can easily use this one. I can set this back to CCC and remove this. And now I have a progress bar. The only issue is that I cannot use the ATTR here as I used it here. If I could, then it would be perfect. But this is background and this is not possible, unfortunately. So how can I update this value? In order to do that, I need JavaScript to update it, and I will provide the var here. So I would go to my JavaScript here. Let's grab this. So const, and I'm getting this. Okay, this should be 0 to give me the first item, because this is get elements by class name will give us an array of the elements, and this is document. So let's go to the progress and then set the attribute data dash value, and let's set it to like 50, and this will be updated. But how can we update the other one? I need to set the variable for CSS, and the CSS will grab that and use it. What do I mean is that here, instead of saying 10%, I would just say var of, let's say, progress, and if it's not there, just 0%. Okay, and then set this progress style dot set property of progress and the 50%, because this is a percent. Now it would get to 50. Let me make this 0 in the beginning, and now it's working. Great. Now if I go and change this to 30 and this one to 30, it's working. So let's implement these buttons and then we are done. So let's first grab them. Shrink button is the document get elements by, I would use tag name. You can provide ID and use that one. And this is the third button, so 2. I need 2 more. Number 0, number 1, and number 2. Number 0 is the loading button, and this one is the reset button. Now the shrink one is the easiest of them all because we are only using this size value. Shrink button dot add event listener of click and give it a shrink function that we need to write. This shrink function will just reset this value. So I would just grab this and put it here, and I'm setting the property of size to, it was 100, let's say 60 pixels. Let's go and see. Great, so the shrink is working. Now the other thing is the reset button and loading button, but for those I need to have a value that I use. So the value is in the beginning 0, and for the loading I need to do an interval that updates this value as it goes on. So let's say here for the loading one, so copy, paste and paste, and this is the loading button that will call the count function, and this one is the let's say reset button that would call the reset. Let's say that reset does nothing for now, so that the error that we have here goes away. Now our account is using some interval to update this value, so I need to define a interval ID here. So in the beginning it's null, and here I would just set it. So I would say id is the set interval to update the value, and I want to see if I'm getting to 100. I would stop. I would clear the interval and stop. This is the ID. Otherwise, let's say I need to add 10 to the value each time. So value is plus 10. And do these two things that I did here based on the value. So this will be value, and this would be value, and it should be in percent. So let me add the percent here as well. Great. So now if I simulate, I put it on the reset, so I need to cut this and put it here. And let's give this set interval some time, so like 300 milliseconds. Let's save it. Great, put this here, remove this, and let's see if it works. Great, it's working, perfect. Now the only thing that is remaining is the reset, and the only thing that it does, it just resets the value. So I would just grab these three parts, put them here. I would say value is like 0, and they will be reset. Okay, so this looks okay to me. Let's go and test. Simulate is working. Shrink is not working, so this is reset button, like so. Great. Simulate loading. Shrink is loading, and I can reset and then simulate loading again. So yeah, that was it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed the video. The link to this pen is on the description, so if you want to go and use it, be my guest. There soon will be a React version of this as well, but that's for another time. So until then, have a great time.